Welcome to Mission to Inspire, where we share life experiences in our careers, personal lives, society, culture, religion, finance, family, and much more. Meet your host, Shola Ajibade, as she takes you on a ride to fuel your inspiration.
So we are going to start with Can We Know You Better? And we're just going to ask you a few questions. So I'm starting now and the clock is ticking.
No pressure.
Right. Energy or space?
Energy.
Energy. Why energy?
Because my energy has kept me grounded and walking on this planet one footstep at a time. So energy.
Okay. Great. I totally agree with you. Energy. Passion or innovation?
Passion. It has to come from the heart. Innovation can come from a steel plate, a closed mind, a regimented system.
That's very true. Self-awareness or school of thought?
Oh, self-awareness, even though it's painful, absolutely self-awareness. That's the key to freedom, Shola.
I totally agree. Self-awareness in everything that we do. We have to be aware of who we are and what we're doing. So, carefree or meditation?
Oh, I'd much prefer carefree, but I have to say that meditation keeps me focused.
That's what I wanted to say. I know you meditate a lot and I know what you do is around meditation. So, okay. All right. Lastly, if you were to travel today, where will you be?
Budapest, Hungary. It's in my zeitgeist. I don't know why it keeps coming up. I have a grandfather that's off the boat from Hungary, and my current partner spent his first 9 years of his life there. So maybe it has something to do with that. But
Maybe
Budapest.
it has something to do with that. Is it it must be a lovely country anyway.
I've not been there yet.
You haven't? Okay. All right. Okay. We'd like to see pictures when you go.
I will send them. Be careful what you wish for, Shola. It comes true.
Okay. Noted. I'll do a short introduction of Susan and then she can tell us more about herself. Susan Gold, she is an author, consultant, and coach. So it's titled Toxic Family Transforming Childhood Trauma into Adult Freedom.
And it wasn't my title. My title was Magical Illumination, because that's what I feel it's been. I felt toxic family was throwing my own family under the bus, which I didn't want to do, but that was my publisher's title. And I now agree with her. It's going to and is attracting the people that need it most. And believe me, I always didn't feel my journey has been a magical illumination. Oh, Susan Gold is magical is what my yoga teacher said out loud in class, and it became one of my social media handles. Susan Gold is magical, but no, everything's at susangold.us. Everything is there.
All right. Okay. Thank you for clarifying. So today she's going to share with us a story and how our experience might benefit us. But trust me, it's really going to benefit us. I'm not going to say too much because I don't want you to know too much. And I want you to be able to listen to the end as she speaks. So over to you, Susan. Can you just tell us a little bit more about who you are?
Well, yeah, I used to love to hear stories. My grandmother owned a boarding house at the seashore. She bought it when my father was young because he had asthma, and the doctor said he needs the seashore. So the closest was the Jersey Shore. And they had rockers out on the porch, and I used to love hearing the stories that were told out there. My story is I was in the center of 5 children in central Pennsylvania, and my parents were riddled with addiction. My father's a genius astrophysicist, but he also would pop the whiskey cork at 7:30 a.m. and you'd hear glug, 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 glug. And he was fun and he was happy-go-lucky. And when he was around, it was just, you never knew what was going to happen next.
Right.
But it was also a very violent and chaotic mix. My mother came from intense trauma, and it was hurt and damaged children, raising hurt and damaged children. And my mother soothed through food. And she was prescribed diet pills, which back then were straight on speed. So I was raised by an alcoholic and a speed freak. And I also believe my mother was suffering from a mental illness.
Oh, no. Okay. I'm sorry to hear that. But thank you so much for sharing. I know you've told us about yourself, but we would really love you to tell us about your journey, especially because what we're discussing today, as you know, is actually about transforming childhood trauma into adult freedom. So that is trauma into freedom. So we want you to tell us a little bit more about that story, especially how it relates to you and how it's going to benefit us.
Well, when I was in my early 20s, I saw the red flags. I saw similarities in my own life that I saw in my family of origin. And I was lucky to heed the warning, and I got help. And I started to examine that home that I was raised in. And I started to examine my trajectory. And that has been pivotal. It was really important for me to get a storyline down verbally. And I addressed addiction. I had my own issues with alcoholism, with overeating, using food to soothe, the same as my mother. And I couldn't be without male attention. And that was very, very costly. And I was also attracted to narcissistic relationships. I was an empath, meaning I could really sense another's feelings. And I needed that tool to survive growing up. And it also served me in my professional career. I matched celebrities to brands and needed to convince very high profile personalities to do things maybe they wouldn't otherwise consider doing. And I was good at it. So I have my family of origin to thank for that as well. I spent time in New York City and was highly successful and went on to producing for television and film. And I spent a long time meditating to gain clarity, week-long silent meditation retreats, making no eye contact. And I got into marathon running and then triathloning. And then when I was too injured, went into a national ranking through master swimming. So I was always seeking and I was always hoping to improve. But Shola, what I didn't realize was a lot of the work was coming from the outside in rather than the inside out.
Right. Okay. Wow. But I'm sure now that you figured out that it's what it was coming from outside rather than from inside. I'm sure now that you figured it out, you're able to work it out, and it benefits you better, your experience anyway.
It's one of the reasons that I wrote the book, because I'm hoping that others can read the story. And there's exercises in the workbook too that I used and still use, and maybe they can hop a couple lily pads forward. Maybe I can help them through that, because I did do a tremendous amount of work. And I did address my issues head on, but ultimately they came together. I was invited to Los Angeles and I thought it was for a career move, and it was a genius career move, but I feel I was reassigned to Los Angeles to meet the man who would become my greatest guru. And that was the man who would become my ex-husband.
That is so interesting. Oh my goodness. That is so interesting. So in your book, there's an exercise there, I'm sure that you would like to share with us today. And
Well, yeah, there's a few, but let's go to a simple one because it's so grounding and I can be so off and be right on that hamster wheel so quickly. And this just takes me right off that hamster wheel and gets me in the moment. So if you want to join me, just take a hand and put it on your solar plexus. That's sort of at the top of your rib cage and below your heart, below your breastbone.
yeah.
And then just feel a breath come in and out and just sense your breath. And then Shola, either out loud or quietly to yourself, say, I am okay.
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 And I don't know about you, Shola, but that for me just brings me right back to this beautiful, juicy, revelatory moment. And quite frankly, that's all I really have as a human being. Even though
Yeah,
I can,
yeah.
even though I convince myself otherwise, yeah.
Simple exercise kind of relieves me of every toxic that is being there at that moment, and I'm kind of free. I can kind of flow. And I feel relieved as well. So yeah, thank you for that.
A plus.
Ah, yes. A plus 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 plus. Thank you. So how can we connect with you before we go on, if we need to?
Just go to susangold.us. There are going to be some of you that are drawn, and that's where you can go. If you want the book, it's at Amazon and Barnes and Noble.
Okay, great. So we know where to buy the book is on Amazon, and I'll be putting your social media handle in the description anyway, so people can get in touch with you.
Thank you for having me here today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm going to ask you some few questions just for us to know you more than we have already. And we're already enjoying your story, your journey. So how was your childhood trauma? How has it actually influenced your life and decisions up to now?
It's had a profound impact. I didn't come out with self-esteem or value or worth intact.
Yeah.
And it's evolving over this life journey, and I've come a long way, but I still need to walk the walk daily.
Sure. So what steps did you take to begin transforming your childhood trauma into adult freedom?
First I had to recognize it.
Okay.
And then I had to accept it.
Right. Okay.
And then I could act on it. And it was important to get the storyline down in linear fashion, meaning talk it through. Yes. But what transformed my trauma is actually going into my body where I held it and finding the pockets and where they were and exploring them. Was it current? Was it past? Was it ancient? What color was it? What's the consistency? What were the emotions attached to it? And to release that and replace it with light.
Interesting. Interesting. So how can we cultivate a sense of forgiveness and compassion towards ourselves for the experience we enjoyed as a child, if we've actually been through childhood trauma?
I have to say that it was easier for me to forgive those I saw as my challengers and my challenges.
Yeah.
So I understood my parents came from abuse and they were doing the best they could. and I've come to respect and love them for the roles that they've played. And I see how they benefited, but I didn't really come to full compassion and understand self-love until I was able to really access my true, authentic worth and value. And I learned that passing through that divorce, writing my book, and then going through my book manuscript from my heart space, that little inner child that had been through all of it and still is walking through
it. Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing and clarifying that for us. Thank you. So what support systems or resources can we tap into to help us heal from childhood trauma and create a path to adult freedom?
There are so many great coaches and therapists and modalities out there, even conversation with a friend that you trust. Breathing has been imperative, being aware of my arms and my legs, my feet on the ground, nature, seeing nature, even in the cities, even in New York City, when I had to twist my head and look up to see what the sky was doing, I could still see a sliver of blue sky up there on sunny days. So there's always a way, but don't be afraid to ask for help.
Right. Oh my goodness. So what aspects of your childhood trauma do you still carry with you, and how can you challenge and relieve those beliefs or behavior?
I still have issues with abandonment. I still have issues feeling neglect. I still have issues of the trauma of sexual abuse. And I have to get into the moment and understand where I am in the present moment and assure myself that I'm safe, I'm secure, I'm loved, I have a team around me that supports me. And those are the tools that I use now, Shola.
That's good. So it just shows that you build resilience basically all through those years up till now.
And doing the work and being unafraid of saying, I'm lost, I'm in pain, I'm confused, I'm depressed, I'm abused, help me.
That's the word. That is just the word. Help me. Help me. If only we can all seek help. Yeah, help me.
And to understand it's a school. It's a school. I came here to walk this walk. I came here for this kind of soul evolution. I came here to be present and to continue to shine light and hope and strength. And it's here.
And that light and hope and strength, I can tell you, you're actually shining that. We can feel it. We can feel the energy. Any inspirational advice for those listening to you today?
Just love yourself. Know that you've been through very hard things. Earth is a challenging classroom, and you are doing amazing.
Thank you so much, Susan. Thank you. We've really enjoyed this conversation, and I'm sure our audience have and will continue to enjoy your conversation. Thank you for sharing your journey. We know that it might hurt to share, but it's good to share because then you're free. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. And until next time, it's Shola and Susan. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for joining us today on Mission to Inspire. Subscribe if you have not already done so. Like, comment, leave a message. Let's stay connected. Let's jointly inspire the world.